I feel so much more joy. I feel more purpose as when I'm on a mission for the Lord. And it's what gets me up every single day. When you're doing it all to glorify Him, it's a feeling that it's really hard to explain. But, happy and joy are probably the two best words that I can do to describe it. But if you feel it in your gut that you're called to do greater things, just keep praying about it and asking for it to be revealed to you. So every one of us is called to do something different, and we all have a mission. So find yours and go after it, and don't let anything and anyone hold you back.
Welcome to the Juggling Life Finding Balance podcast. I'm your host, Vivian Cumins, and I cannot wait for you to meet today's guest. But before we get started, just a little reminder that if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button wherever you listen and watch. And while you're there, leave us a 5-star review if you've enjoyed today's show. So I have a quick question for you. So what would you do if God called you to do something radically different? Would you say yes to the unknown and jump in with both feet, or would you ask God to give you a few more details? Well, my guest today, Kyla Williamson, shares her inspirational story that exhibits what God can do with our little yes, and how one simple act of obedience can open the door to His good and prosperous plan for our lives. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's inspiring conversation with my new friend, Kyla Williamson. To kick us off, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey?
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been such a blessing. I always knew someday I would be able to, share my story and all the things that God has been doing. And, we're made for such a time as this, I think. So thank you for having me. Honored to be here and share some of these crazy good things that God has done in my life. I've born and raised Oklahoma girl my whole life. And, I think I've always known God. I've always had my relationship with Him. But there is a difference when you really focus on your relationship with Him and just saying, I'm a Christian, And so about 9 years ago, my husband and I were at church. We were churchgoers and, kind of going through the motions, and at the time I kind of felt like I was the shell, I guess. I mean, I did feel a little bit empty, but we listened to a sermon one day about tithing, and that's kind of where it all changed for me. And I just started, researching, talking to my elders about this tithing. And my granddad has been a huge part in my Christian, journey and everything. And so he talked to me a little bit about it. And so my husband and I at the time were about to lose our home in foreclosure. We were having, financial issues, and, things were just about as bad as they could be, right?
Yes.
Mama 3, I have 3 kiddos. My husband and I have been married now 24 years next month. And so we were just in this place where it was like, oh my gosh, we're at a crossroads here. And so I started tithing, and things started turning around. I was led to an opportunity 9.5 years ago. At that, literally, I think it was about a week after I made the decision we got baptized as a family. Like it was a big ordeal those few weeks. And I was introduced to an opportunity. And at first I said no, but then God just started tugging on my heart, like, you asked for something, I'm giving it to you, kind of thing. Wow. Right. And so, he gave me this, and so I said yes, and I jumped in. And I'm a hairstylist. I've been a hairstylist now for 23 years. And I was working 12-hour days. I was working multiple jobs, actually. I'm an artist as well, and I teach paint, wine, and palette classes. And I was doing that, and I was also involved in a direct sales company. And then some other opportunity was available, and I said yes, and I jumped in. And, at first I just needed to make a house payment. That was kind of my thing. I just wanted to make a house payment. And so he gave me that and 10 times more. And, I've been doing this for 9 years, fast forward 9 years. And it's just been absolutely an incredible journey. And saying yes to that one little opportunity has led me to so many other things, which we're going to get into and talk about.
Oh, that's wonderful. You touched on something that I just want to circle back on just because my husband and I had the same experience. So when my husband and I got together, he was a single dad and he was living in a small trailer house right outside of an Air Force base. He was active duty at the time. And when we got together, we decided we wanted to get a house. And so we had put that little trailer house up for sale and it would not sell. It just would not sell. And we were getting kind of freaked out because we were moving into another house and we're like, we can't afford this. And same thing happened to my husband. So I was a Christian before he was. And so I was tithing myself on my own income. And we were in church one day and we get in the car and he says, I need to start tithing. And I'm thinking, yeah, you do, and so he started tithing, and when he did, that trailer house sold. And, he has that testimony. He's like, as soon as I obeyed to the prompting that I should be tithing on my income, then God came through. And so I love how the same kind of story is there with you. So that's amazing.
We try to teach our kids that too. I'm like, God says to test him. He says it in the Bible, test me and I will show you, what I can do. And I mean, he never fails. And it's always, it doesn't have to be some kind of big elaborate, here's $20,000 check or something like that. Like it can be little things. Like the other day, my husband literally said, oh, I got paid. I have to tithe. And so he did his thing. And that night we went to eat pizza and we got a free pizza. Like it's those little bitty things, that he does to bless you. And when you see it and recognize it, you just thank him for all the wonderful things that, he's given us.
Yes. And that's important too, is recognizing when God does those little things, because they do mean so much, don't they?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So I would love to start getting into your story, but I'm curious, were there specific signs or moments that made you realize that God was leading you into this new direction?
Yes. There's always been things that happen at different times, but I'll tell you one particular moment that happened to me 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, well, first of all, let me tell you, I'm a very, very active person. I don't sit down for nothing. I'm up sun up to sundown, and everybody's always like, I'm so sorry I text you so late. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm always up, right? So just to kind of give you a little inkling of that, like I'm an on the go kind of girl and I don't stop. And so 2 years ago, was probably one of the hardest years of my entire life. I broke my foot. And my orthopedic surgeon said, this is probably the worst break that you could ever do to yourself. Broke my ankle, shattered my foot, had a Liz Frank injury. It was horrible. The month before that, I had lost my grandfather, who I was super, super close with, him and my grandmother. I had surgery. The day after I broke my foot, I had a horrific car accident. I'm like, listen, devil's trying to take me out, but he's not going to get me. But so I had surgery. I was immobile for 12 weeks. And, all this happened probably within a 6-month period of time. Okay. And while that was enough to probably make somebody go down a really bad path, I chose to lean more into God than I ever had. I knew I needed him, or my mental state would be, off the rocker. I started studying the Bible more, growing my relationship with him more. And I made a decision to not let my situation get the best of me. And I am a dreamer. I dream big about things. I think about things. I obsess about things, until they come true. And so I have some really big, scary goals. And but at the time they seemed so far away, like, oh my gosh, this thing happened. How in the world am I going to achieve the things that I've, wanted to do? But during this time, I prayed so much and I heard from him. I started reading books and I would listen to Audible stuff every day. And the one thing that I heard every single day from him was, be still, rest in me. I heard that every day. I mean, every second of the hour, because I had to be reminded of that. Like, Kyla, I'm giving you this time. I need you to be still. I need you to listen to me. and he set me down. So I would listen. I often feel like that story of Jacob when he wrestled with God, when he came out with a limp. That's totally me. I literally still have a limp, on my foot, but it's probably never going to go away. And it reminds me every single day of that time that I really started a deeper relationship with God. And so out of that downtime is when so many of my dreams were born, things that I've always thought of, but it's like, okay, you know what? It is time. It's time to go. It's time to make these dreams a reality. And so opening my event center and my salon, something I always thought of doing, but just didn't really know if I could or if I would. So,
yeah. Listening to your story, I actually have goosebumps because there's so many parallels between what God has done in my life as well as what God has done in yours. And so my situation was 3 years ago, same exact thing. I had cancer in my leg. And so when you talk about, going through that time, it was a pretty rough time for me as well. But it's so important that we draw upon our faith and we get close to God. He doesn't inflict us with these things, but he can use these situations to really get to the heart of us. And sometimes he has to set us down, like you said, so that we'll be still and listen.
Right.
Yeah.
And one more thing that I want to add is that, from that opportunity he gave me 9.5 years ago, because, it was able to carry me financially with me being down. And I mean, you just sit and think, I'm a hairstylist. I stand on my feet. Like I do all these things and I was not able to do it, but I was still able to financially pay my bills. So he was setting me up for something that he knew down the line was going to affect me, and just a huge blessing financially as well because of the one little yes that I said 9 years ago.
Oh, I love that. So let me ask you, did you face any resistance or doubts when initially considering this change that God was prompting you to?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I kind of think of sometimes I'm like, when God led the Israelites out of Egypt and they complained and moaned and groaned. And I'm kind of doing that study right now where they complained and it's like, but God, I don't know, but God, this, that. So I kind of feel like that. But one day Sean had found this space, my husband, he found this space and he said, hey, you really need to come look at this space I found today. He's a driving instructor, so he drives around, and I said, oh, okay. Yeah. He goes, no, like you need to get in the car right now and we need to go look at this place right now. And I was like, okay, well, I guess. And so we literally got in the car, went and looked at this space. And as soon as we pulled in the parking lot, this overwhelming feeling was like, okay, something is stirring here. Something really, really big I've been talking about is stirring. And so we took down the phone number, and 5 weeks later, I still had not called the phone number. So and the one day Sean was like, okay, so have you called that number yet that we went and looked at? And I said, no. He goes, go in your office right this minute. Nobody's here. It's quiet. Go in your office right now. So I went in there and I shut the door and I said a prayer and I said, okay, Lord, if this is what you really want me to do, I'm feeling a big push to do this, but I need it to be your idea. I need you to tell me. I need this conversation to go good. And if this guy answers the phone, whoever this is, let it go good. Because, sometimes people, you just tell personalities right on the phone.
Yes.
So I called him and I talked to him, and it was like I'd known him for years and we were best friends. It was the craziest thing. And I knew at that exact moment, like, okay, stop procrastinating. This is already starting off really good, And so we made that decision to go up there and meet him on my son's graduation day, actually. And so it was, I had these pivotal moments. It was on his graduation day. We went up there and looked, and that's when I was like, okay, here we go,
And so when you're saying space, this would be for the event center that you had.
Yes. The event center. That was just the one thing at the time. I know I said salon earlier, so I'll tell you that story in a minute. But event center was the only thing that I had on my mind.
And so, I'm curious about that. So I'm backing up just a little bit when you said that kind of came to you. So what do you think prompted you to think about an event center? I mean, you're styling hair. I mean, has this been something that you had seen somewhere or I don't know, saw in a magazine, thought it would be cool? So how did that even come about?
Well, yes, I know. Everybody, a lot of people ask me that, and there's a part of my life that I don't like tell a lot of people, honestly, which it's not a secret or anything. But growing up, my grandparents owned a wedding shop here in Oklahoma City.
Oh.
It was called Myrtle's Wedding and Formal Shop, and they catered weddings. And so my entire life, that's what my family did. We catered things. We did events. We always were the event planners. And so I grew up like that. And I even brought that into my adulthood. Like we have a nice house, and a big, everybody always comes over here for events. And so it's just always been something that I love to do. One of my biggest joys of life is giving people exceptional customer service and making people happy, making people smile. Everything that I do is to create a special environment, to create wonderful memories for people, because I have an Airbnb also in Branson, Missouri. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love to see people's reviews, things like that. So my absolute joy in life is to love on people, serve people, give them exceptional customer service and all of that. So my background kind of comes from, my grandparents and my parents planning events, and I just brought that into my adulthood, and here I am. So
I love that. I love that because that was always something that was in your family and in your heart.
Yes.
And then years and years later, God kind of resurrects that. So I love that.
Absolutely.
Prior to us getting together today, you had shared with me when you all went to that property and you were visited by someone there that if you didn't already know this was a God thing, perhaps this visitor would have solidified that. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So the day that I was going up to meet my broker, and my contractor was meeting me up there as well. And so on the way up there, I had worship music going, and I just was out loud saying, okay, Lord, this is getting real. Like, I'm meeting the contractor, like I'm about to sign papers, like this is getting real. Can you just tell me and make sure that I know that I'm listening to you and that I know that you're wanting me to do this? So we get there and we go in the space, and I'm telling my contractor, I'm like, I want this here, I want that here. And I'm telling him all my ideas. And all of a sudden I turn around and the door opens, and it's this man, this older man. And let me just kind of set the pace for you here. There is not one business yet in this entire complex. There is nobody walking around. It's a little bit on the outskirts of town. Nobody goes in this area. Nobody. So turn around, door opens, this guy standing there, white pants, white t-shirt, white hair, and probably looked like he was in his 70s. I don't know. And he said, oh, I was just walking by. What are you guys doing here? And I said, oh, I'm talking about putting an event center in here, for baby showers and wedding showers and just fun events, business events and stuff like that. And it was just like he looked deep in my soul and he said, girl, this is going to be amazing. You are going to have so much success here. And this is going to be awesome for you. And I just said, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. That really means a lot. Thank you. And he goes, okay, well, I got to go. I got to get, and y'all have a good day. This is going to be awesome. He turned around and walked off. At that moment, I was like, oh, well, that was nice, And so we went back to doing what we were doing, this, that, and, talking about everything. And we were on the back porch of my space, and I was talking to my contractor. I've known him for 18 years. He's a good friend of mine. And I said, Lewis, was that weird? That was really weird, right? Like, that was so weird. And he goes, I think that was an angel. And I said, well, what's so crazy is, my prayer for this was exactly answered right then and there, you know?
Yes.
And so I was like, I was on my way up here and I was, asking God, show me what in here, what is happening, And so that was the first little God wink. Well, my broker was like, oh yeah, Cindy told me that you had mentioned something about a salon. And again, Lewis known me for so long. He says, why do you not open a salon? And I was like, well, that's a lot. Like that's a lot,
Yes.
And he was like, you could do this. Look, you could do this. And he just starts going on. And I mean, that's when it kind of was like, it just, again, the overwhelming feeling.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
okay, something is going on here again,
Yes. Yes. I love how God will use people. And the fact that the gentleman was all dressed in white, I mean, that was just blatant.
Yes. And that I would even like see that, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that was something that I was like, I remembered. I don't know. It was weird.
That's so
Well, I
funny.
do have to tell you one more thing. So Lewis's guys pulled up, and at first I kind of thought, well, maybe that was one of his guys. Well, he told me later, he's like, no, and he goes, I was talking to those guys at lunch about that situation that happened, and he said neither one of them saw him coming or going.
For goodness sakes! Oh my goodness!
That, I mean, I have goosebumps now. Neither one of them saw him coming or going, and
Wow.
Can't convince me otherwise, right?
No. I had a situation a couple years ago when I was kind of going through my wilderness and trying to figure out what God wanted me to do. I felt like he was calling me to do something, but couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. And
yeah.
My husband and I were in the city and for my 50th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were walking along and a guy came up to us. He appeared to be a homeless man. I mean, that's what he appeared to be.
Yeah.
And he comes up to me and he says, when you stop looking, you'll find it. And then he walked away. And my husband just kind of looked at me and was like, okay, I think you just got a word. And I was like, I think I did too, because I was just striving. I was trying to figure out, God, what do you want me to do? I was just, and God was like, just settle down, be still, and that was just him using that gentleman and to speak. So I just love how, and one of my favorite scriptures is Hebrews 13:2, where it talks about to be hospitable to strangers because there could be angels among us. You never know
Absolutely.
who you're entertaining. And so I think that's two perfect examples of just exactly that.
Right.
So, all right. So now you've got these two ideas of an event center and now a salon. So what do you do with these two ideas?
Oh my goodness. Well, I went home that day and I was like, I was home by myself and I said, okay, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, what are we going to name these places? Like what, it has to be something that glorifies you because this was your idea. You brought me to this. And I had gone to a conference and listened to a lady speak about Jeremiah 29:11. And so that was kind of at the forefront of my heart at that time, and which it always is. But it was just kind of put there at that moment. And I hear God say, "The prosper," and I said, "Okay, the Prosper Event Center. Okay, I think that's what we're supposed to do here." And so there was born the Prosper Event Center. And then I talked to him about the Salon 429. I think one day I was in really, really deep prayer this day. I don't know that I've ever been in that kind of deep prayer where, you're just so deep that you just have tears flowing and you just are asking him like, I need you to tell me what you want me to do, and I opened the Bible and I just started just typing in different things and just to see if anything came, out to me for the salon. And I typed in 429 and Ephesians 4:29 came up. And it basically says that let everything good flow from your mouth that you may inspire others. And I thought, wow, what a great verse for a salon, because salons can be kind of gossipy, here and there. And so I thought, that is going to be our motto, that let everything good flow from our hearts and our minds and our voices to help others, inspire them to be, better in the world. And so therefore, Salon 429 came about, and that's kind of where that's where that was born. And I mean, it 429 has a lot of meaning behind it. It is my birthday also, but
wow.
I really like when I just started typing in things that came about, and I just thought this is the perfect verse and the motto that we're going to carry in the salon.
Oh, what a wonderful story. I love Jeremiah 29:11. That's been my life verse the past 3 years. And where it does talk about that, God has good plans for us, plans to prosper us. And so I think that is a beautiful testimony. So looking back, how has God's call on your life to do something different? What advice would you give to others discerning that similar situation? What would you tell them if they feel that prompting, but they're not sure it's God? Is it me? Is it God? What advice would you give those folks?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think that if it's something you can't stop thinking about, and you just know wholeheartedly that this is what you're supposed to do, but you don't know how it's going to get done or how you're going to do it, you just have to go for it and let God figure out the rest.
Yeah.
I feel so much more joy. I feel more purpose as when I'm on a mission for the Lord, and it's what gets me up every single day. Not with just these two businesses I'm building, but with every business I'm in, with my Monate business, running it, my Airbnb, being a hairstylist. I'm also an artist. When you're doing it all to glorify Him, it's a feeling that it's really hard to explain. But, happy and joy are probably the two best words that I can do to describe it. But if you feel it in your gut that you're called to do greater things, just keep praying about it and asking for it to be revealed to you. It may not be right away. God kind of works on us and takes us through things to get us where He needs us to be. But just keep going and keep asking for it. And don't listen to the opinions of other people for anything that you feel that you're supposed to do. And sometimes, sadly, the closest people that are to us that we think are going to be our biggest supporters won't support you in a lot of things. And it'll make you kind of think like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to do this. But you know what? Complete strangers will be your biggest cheerleaders and will link arms with you. So every one of us is called to do something different. And we all have a mission. So find yours and go after it, and don't let anything and anyone hold you back.
Wow, that is extremely powerful. And I take that into my heart this morning. You're preaching to me now.
I preach to myself too.
Oh my goodness. Wow, that's amazing. No, you are a very, very busy woman, obviously. And so, I'm all about the balance, but I struggle, obviously, with that from time to time. So, what can you share with the listeners and even myself? How some tips that you implore that help you to kind of keep things together with all the things you have going on?
Yeah, I'm still going through obstacles. I mean, we all go through those obstacles. You grow through what you go through, right? And so, in the midst of everything, with my spaces being built and all the unknowns, I just keep reminding myself that God brought me here and gave me this vision, and He's going to take care of things. And, I have to put my entire trust and faith in Him and go into prayer when things get tough, and just lay it at His feet. And just, it's hard to, because I'm kind of a control freak, but somehow I do that. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so, just keep going, keep going after everything you want. And again, 9.5 years ago, I had no idea all of these things that would transpire, but you just have to keep walking in faith and let Him lead you, and, go with your gut. The Holy Spirit will guide you in everything that you need to do. So.
Oh, very good. That's wonderful. So how can folks reach you? How might they be able to come see some of these wonderful businesses that you have built?
Yes. So I'm obviously on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is A Love for Hair, and under Kyla Williamson on Facebook. But I've got some websites, and I think you're going to be able to share those links with them. But I am in the Oklahoma City area, kind of on the west side of Oklahoma City. And yeah, I would love for anybody to come by and say hi if you're in the area and see my spaces and see all the things that God has planned. And we're hoping to open up on March 1st for the event center and a little bit later for the salon, probably mid-March, but we're so excited about everything that he's doing and just being able to serve our community. And one of the things that when I was in my downtime, it was like the question that kept coming up is, what am I doing to further the kingdom? What are you doing to further his character and his love and all of that? And so, being able to get back out in the community, because I've worked at home for so long, and just being able to love on my community and just be able to serve is really going to be exciting.
Oh, that is exciting. So March 1st, mid-March, sounds like both of your businesses will be open. By the time this airs, they will have been opened and prospering. I'm certain of it. And just so you know, my husband and I, we're from Oklahoma as well. And so we are planning to come back home and visit in the spring, early summer. And I am going to find you. And I'm going to come see your businesses and give you a big old hug, because I feel like we have known each other forever. You've just been an absolute joy to get to know. And so I thank you so much for your time today. And good luck with grand openings. And we will be in touch soon so I can plan that visit.
I look forward to it.
All right. All right, listeners. Well, please take some time, check out the show notes, go visit Kyla's websites. And if you are in the Oklahoma City area, please look her up either to schedule an event or get that hair done. So until next time. Thank you for hanging out with me here on the Juggling Life Finding Balance podcast. I hope our time together leaves you feeling encouraged and inspired. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love it if you would click that subscribe button wherever you are listening or watching, and then share it with a friend. And please come visit me on my website, viviancumins.com, where you'll find more great information and resources about how you can move that needle from busy to balanced. Until next time, stay blessed and be balanced.